Hello, everyone. Good morning to our U.S. participants. Good afternoon to our participants here from Israel. Thank you for joining us today for the BARD application webinar. This introduction session on BARD, the U.S.-Israel Binational Agriculture and Research and Development Fund, will cover the fund's mission, the different funding opportunities, the research priorities. We'll also talk about who can apply, the process of the evaluation and its timeline, and we'll give you useful tips for writing successful presentation proposals. We will have time at the end of the session for questions. If anyone has a question, and the chat is open for questions. If your question is not answered at the session, we're still available to answer via email. I'm joined here today with our Executive Director, Professor Yoram Kapulnik, and our Program Director, Mr. Chaim Katz. And Yoram, please.
Hello, everybody. Good morning to you in the United States and good afternoon to you here in Israel. It's my pleasure to be part of this webinar. In our today's session, we will shed a little bit more light on the BARD Foundation in general. And later on, we'll proceed and get more information and detail how to apply and how to make sure that you will be able to be funded by BARD. So I will start right away. Okay. One minute, please. Let me just blow it up here. Okay, so to those of you who are not familiar with BARD, BARD stands for the U.S.-Israel Binational Agricultural Research and Development Fund, which was established more than 40 years ago by the two governments, the U.S. government and the Israeli government. And BARD is a competitive funding program that supports collaborative agriculture research and development in the area of mutual interest to the U.S. and to Israel. Now, behind BARD creation, there are at least two agencies which actually lead that formation of this foundation, and this is the U.S. Department of Agriculture in the U.S. and the Minister of Agriculture in Israel, together with the Minister of Finance here in Israel. So these are actually our stakeholders that support us ever since BARD was initiated, and they are still supporting us nowadays. Now, BARD is a funding mission-oriented strategic and applied research, which is conducted jointly by U.S. and Israeli scientists, and you are going to hear more about that collaborative arrangement that we have here in BARD in most areas of agriculture, and the proposal should deal with an agriculture issue or agriculture problem that should be studied or get to a solution. Apart from our research program, BARD supports also workshops and fellowships, and you're going to hear about it later on from Chaim Katz towards the end of this webinar. Now, back to the proposal. So BARD is expecting to get proposals that would yield a tangible result that could be implemented within a reasonable time frame after the completion of the project. It's not that we are standing here with a stopwatch and really timing you when exactly this result is going to be established or could get to the agriculture, but you have to convince the reviewers and the panelists that the question that you are asking your proposal or the topic to study has a meaningful, and that topic would get to practicality one time and another, as sooner as better, of course. Now, where our funding come from? Both governments set an endowment that was, as I mentioned, around 40 years ago. The endowment is of $110 million, and a part of that we are enjoying a supplement amount of $500,000, which is coming from each country every year. So altogether, our annual budget is around $7 million for research. Now, as you can see in this slide, and I'll start at the bottom on the right side, so there are more than 900 American principal investigators and more than 600 Israeli principal investigators actually experienced the BARD project, and they actually led the project. In our today presentation, Chaim will explain to you what we mean by principal investigator and who is a principal investigator and who is the co-PI, but I will leave it to him. I would like also to tell you that almost we have a representative in almost in every state in the U.S. from coast to coast, and the numbers on the map represent the number of projects that have been funded by BARD. Naturally, some of the states has a lot of more in common to the Israeli culture. So you can see a lot of projects that came there. They're talking about topographic, climatic conditions, and description or the state of agriculture. So you can see more projects there. But you can see that in most states, some topics have been funded by BARD. Now, over the years, more than 5,000 proposals have been submitted to BARD, out of which 1,300 have been approved, and our approval rate is between 25 to 26%. We are proud about it. At least from what we have here around in Israel, it's a fairly high approval rate. It's really worth it to sit and to write the proposal because it's really a significant approval rate relative to other agencies here. Now, in terms of budget allocation, you can see that budget is being split almost 50-50 between the two countries. That's exactly what the people that set this foundation meant in the beginning, that we utilize this source jointly, and you can see it there. Now, we are lucky because just before the pandemic outbreak, we completed the 40 years evaluation analysis. And in this analysis, we have a lot of information, a lot of matrix had been tested, and statistics, relevant statistics. And I'm encouraging you to look into this report. You can find this report on our website. And just shortly, I will mention that over the 40 years, BARD invested more than $300 million in a research project. The economical benefit of BARD is that every dollar that was spent in research gave rise to $16 in the markets, the Israeli market, the American market, and beyond. And another matrix which we were very happy to discover, that if you obtained support from BARD, there are 82% of chances that you'll stick together for somewhere between 6 to 7 years. This collaboration, you'll stick with your collaborator, developing the next stage. And this is something that is very encouraging. We are not just a matchmaker in here. We are actually establishing a true scientific collaboration between the nations. Now, in terms of academic publications, more than 5,000 papers. So this is scientific or peer-reviewed papers that have been published in scientific journals. I know that there are a lot of other publications with we are actually supporting any publication that can come from this work is appreciable. But we are counting the scientific publication, and we are very proud about it too. You'll be able to see how many commercial engagements, how many jobs have been contributed to the market as a result of the scientific work, how many patents or breeding rights rose from this collaboration. And we included also environmental impact and social impact of BARD, and we are very happy with the results. Again, I'm encouraging you to look into it. This is just to complete a full picture of what BARD is all about, and this is something which we do only once for 40 years, so it's there on our website. Now, BARD has a priority area. We appreciate topics in certain areas, and you probably will be happy to hear that last month, our board of directors approved a new set of priority areas. From time to time, we are revisiting our priority areas, and the first one from last month again published in our website. But just to give you the feeling how wide the BARD portfolio is, I'm mentioning here, between our priority areas, you can find plant and animal and environmental defense, soil water quality and quantity, ag production challenges in marginal conditions, food quality, safety and security, sustainable ag environmental management, ag engineering, precision agriculture, and even artificial intelligence, and many more. So you can see how wide it is. Please look to the exact wording of each priority and the sub-priority groups that are appearing on our website. Now, another thing which BARD is very unique is in our selection process. Actually, the proposal, to select the proposal, we do a very thorough evaluation procedure, which is taking place in both countries, in the United States and in Israel, in parallel. And we have 8 review panels. These are 8 subject matters. And those committees that are actually in charge of the evaluation, they will start to discuss those proposals only after they will receive at least 5 comprehensive reviews from ad hoc reviewers. And here, Chaim with me, he is actually in charge on to receive those ad hoc reviews, and he's doing a very good job. You probably know that in order to get 5 comprehensive reviews, you need probably to contact more reviewers, and that's what he does very successfully. Now, at the panel level, at the end of the discussion, they have to rank all these proposals in priority list. So, in a matter of fact, you have one list, the Israeli panel and the American panel, and that actually goes to the next stage. And the next stage is being handled by the TAC committee. This is TAC, it stands for Technical Advisory Committee, which are 5 senior scientists from each country. And their job is actually to select the interdisciplinary portfolio and to give it to our board of directors for final decision. So this is our procedure, and as I mentioned a couple of times in the last minute, it's being done very thoroughly in 2 countries, and the reviewers, the panelists, and even the TAC members, all of them needed to consider each proposal according to 4 major criteria. And so our selection criteria, the first one is the scientific and technical merit. The second one is the feasibility of the objective. Can this study can be accomplished in the time frame, in the period of time. Anticipated benefit to agriculture and to the environment of both countries. Here, the environment stands for the environment which is influenced by agricultural activity. We are not an agency that can support environment or ecological studies, natural ecology. So here we're talking about environment which is influenced by agricultural activity. And the last and not least, this is a collaborative arrangement. We really want that the project will be carried, the research will be done by both labs, and they will really collaborate between them. Now, the panels that we have in BARD, and here are what I just mentioned, the subject matter. We are the panelists. We have a panel on animal and production, another panel, animal health, crop production, crop health, food products, quality, safety, and security, soil and water, and environmental and renewable resources, same panel, agriculture engineering, which including all the precision agriculture and artificial intelligence too. And finally, we have the ag economy. In a matter of fact, in the last couple of years, we are favoring a lot of economic analysis on this topic because later on, at the end of the day, after we complete a very thorough and interesting research, it should somehow get to dollar meaning. And that's something which we will appreciate more. Now, with that, I completed my general description of the foundation, and I gave you some taste what we're all about, and then we can find more information about the BARD. And with that, I will give the stage to Chaim, who will continue to describe the more technical issues, how to apply to BARD.
Thank you, Yoram. Thank you all for coming to this webinar. What I'll do is try to get a little bit into the nitty-gritty on actually how to apply and what you need to prepare for your applications. Of course, the first question is who can apply? So we are, as Yoram mentioned, we are a cooperative research program, so there needs to be an Israeli and an American scientist on the proposal. We support only those who are members of nonprofit institutions, be it government, or educational, or private nonprofit institutions in both countries. We also have a concurrent funding policy. To explain this, I want to give you our definitions of PIs, co-PIs, and collaborating investigators. PIs and co-PIs have the same status. That is the PI is the first one on the proposal, and the co-PI is the first person from the country who is not from the other country, from the PI. So if they have and everybody else is called a collaborating investigator. If you're a PI or co-PI on a proposal, then you have to complete one proposal before starting another, which does mean that if you're in the second year of a BARD grant, you can't submit you can't submit for a new grant for a continuation or a new grant proposal, and you would obviously have to complete your existing grant before you start the new grant. There's no limit on collaborating investigators unless they receive a very large sum of money in the proposal, about $20,000 a year. We have 1 year and 3 year grants. The 3 year grant maximum limit is $310,000 for both sides. 4 to 3 years. You're only allowed one revision. So if you submitted a proposal and decided to resubmit and weren't funded on either submission, then you have to either write a new proposal or approach the subject from different aspects. I want to get into what you need to prepare for the proposals. The system is like most granting agencies nowadays. You have each section is prepared separately and they're uploaded separately to the site. We have two types of preparations. One is where we have a new, actually we revamped it, online submission forms. There you will put in some of the basic information, the investigator's details, the title, the abstract, and which panel you would like us to put it in, etc. Your budget also is put into the forms, and what you put into those forms, the system will generate pages automatically for those sections that are required. So I'll go through each section now. You have the cover page, and as I just mentioned, that's the system generated. The abstract is also system generated. Then you have the main body of the proposal, which is limited to 15 pages. I should also mention that all the files that are uploaded must be in PDF format. You have an additional 5 pages for expected results, the timetable, details of the cooperation, facilities, description of the facilities, and description of the data management procedures. So that's in addition to the 15 pages. The bibliography is another section we need to prepare. We ask that the bibliography prepared in author and year format as opposed to numbering the citations. Each investigator has to upload his CV. It's limited to 2 pages, so include only the recent and relevant publications and over that limit. The budget summary table is generated by the system. We put in the numbers in the website forms. You have an additional 2 pages of text for description of the budget, and we have and if there are laboratories that are assisting you from outside the investigators on the proposal, for instance, somebody that might do some sequencing for you or isolation of compounds or genes or whatever, and they're not from your institution or not from your lab, you can get letters from them that confirm that they're willing to work on your project. We do not allow any letters what we call cheerleading letters, where people support the general support for the idea if they don't have a part of in the proposal. In addition to these, if the proposal is a revised proposal, you have 2 pages to respond to the comments of the panels and reviewers of the original proposal. I like to say if people are smart, they thank the reviewers for the comments and they answer in a more general format saying what the changes are and how they improve the proposal. Sometimes people go into a rebuttal point by point that's usually less successful. And if the project is a continuation project of another BARD grant, then you get an additional 3 pages which describe the accomplishments of your BARD grant and the publications which derive from. As I mentioned, we have a new online form. So if you're used to the old one, Functionally, it's pretty much the same as the old one, but there are a few technical differences. One is you need to register. So everybody, you can you can either register by putting in an email and password, and you get a confirmation for that, or you can instead use your ORCID ID and register through ORCID. At present, in order to use your ORCID ID, you have to make your email public in that, but we'll mention it in the website. You may already be registered in the system without knowing it, particularly if you had a BARD grant. So in that case, go into the login screen and click on the forgot password, and you can generate the new password. The other difference is that to invite other participants in your proposal, in the cover page, there's a link that says invite a partner. That will open up a screen with with an email, and the information will be sent to your partner for her to register in the site and to add themselves to your proposal. And then they can upload sections also in the proposal, and of course put in their own investigator information in that section. A few suggestions for success, as the competition is rather steep. Of course, it's important to have a well-written proposal, that the research problem is well stated, that your hypotheses are well-founded, that the objectives are reasonable. Preliminary results are certainly very, very important. And the fact that you'll have many reviewers reading the proposal, so things should be clear and in a systematic and logical progression within the proposal. And as Yoram mentioned, the contribution to agriculture is a very important part of the evaluation process, and that shouldn't be taken for granted that the reviewers will assume that it's important for agriculture. Should be mentioned at least in the introduction to the proposal of what the benefits would be if research was successful. These are most of the common criticisms that the reviewers give. The number one criticism is too ambitious. While we like to think that BARD is an important stepping stone to a Nobel Prize, one BARD grant generally will not get you a Nobel Prize, at least it hasn't yet. And we realize the amount is a modest amount for 2 labs, $310,000. So try to keep your objectives limited to something that can be reasonably accomplished in 3 years. The objective should be very clear and focused. The more focused the proposal is and clear the objectives, the better chance it has of getting funded. Of course, as Yoram mentioned, the cooperation is very important. We're looking for cooperation where the research of both labs together is greater than what the contribution would be if each lab was working separately. Of course, the dependence, having some foundation for hypotheses is very important, and there are those who say, particularly in peer-reviewed grant evaluation process, the best way to get the grant is to do 85% of the work. So we do have a pathway to try to circumvent that, and that is our feasibility studies. That's a 1-year study. If you have a very good idea, usually something extremely innovative, and but it's very risky, and you need to show some sort of proof of concept, some kind of bottleneck there that is sort of go or no go for a full proposal. Then this is ideal to apply for a 1-year study. If you do this pathway, you will, and you're funded, you only get funded for 1 year, and you will only be able to submit after completion of the project. So you will have a year's break, although you could ask for an extension on the first year's project. That's it for our research fund, which I strongly recommend that you go to our website and read the guidelines for the research proposals before you start filling out forms and preparing the files. You get more details, and of course, as Vivi mentioned, if you have questions that arise after the seminar, we're happy to answer. I'll go through briefly some of the other funding opportunities we have. We have fellowships and workshops. We have postdoctoral fellowship program where we award up to 2 years. The first year we fully fund, and the second year is dependent that the host lab provide 50% of the funding for the fellow. We have another program for PhD students. Of course, the postdoc program is for Israelis citizens to go to a U.S. institution, and for U.S. citizens to come to an Israeli institution. Same is true for the student fellowships, the PhD student fellowships. It's for up to 2 to 6 months, where a PhD student can go to another lab and develop, learn some new techniques, which will help him in his dissertation work. We have a senior research fellowship. This is only for U.S. Scientists who come to Israel, where they can come for 2 to 12 months and work with an Israeli lab on a focused research project. Also gives them an opportunity to meet with other researchers in Israel and interact with students in the institution they're in, as well as in other institutions. We support workshops. Workshops are up to $50,000 for a workshop. It's also jointly submitted by U.S. and Israeli scientists. It can be either in the U.S. and Israel, and we've even supported workshops outside the U.S. and Israel. We expect the workshops to have some type of major impact on the field that they are doing. All these programs, the submission date is mid-January, so there's plenty of time for this to really get ready for it. Another one of our newest program is what we call the B-Lever, the BARD leverage program. This is our attempt to try to get the ideas from the lab to the field much faster. And if you have a BARD project that's in its second year or maybe even completed, and you have a good idea that something that you think can be turned into a product or a service, and looking for a commercial entity to come and push this thing into the market. We try to facilitate this with our partners in the Israel Innovation Authority and in NIFA with the SBIR program. And we facilitate an application. Sometimes we even help in finding a company that might be appropriate to help with this type of application. There's no deadline for this proposal, so you can submit it. Just let us know if you think you have a proposal that's ready to be commercialized. Also, if you have a good idea for a project and you're looking for a partner, we have a matchmaking service that's reasonably successful. Just send us your CV, a brief abstract of the research topic, and a brief description of the type of expertise and partner you would like. And if you're an Israeli, we can look for an American partner, and if you're an American, we can look for an Israeli partner. If you want to do it now, you should do it quickly because it does take, it can take up to a few weeks to a month till we're able to find someone appropriate. So that's it for at least my part of the discussion. And we'll hand it over to Yubi to
So I have first question was, do we have any events or networking where scientists can meet and talk about collaborations?
Okay. Apart from what we call it a workshop, where you can really come and discuss issues, and the outcome of that workshop really can be a proposal, it can be a white paper, it can be your opinion. We don't have other mechanisms. So it's a very, you have to plan your steps ahead of time to apply for a workshop, a given topic. By the way, if you look carefully in our website, between 5 to 10 people from each country that will meet somewhere and spend 2 to 3 days to discuss specific issues.
I have another question about feasibility studies, and the question is about, are feasibility grants given to both U.S. and Israeli collaborators?
Well, feasibility studies, we have 2 schemes for feasibility studies. One of them is a feasibility study that actually is requested by the applicant, and that will be 1 year of research, and the funding is up to $100,000. And of course, you can share it between that amount. You can share it between the 2 groups. Now we have another feasibility study, a feasibility study which is actually imposed by the panel. Sometimes you are applying for a full 3 years research plan. However, well, the panelists can think that this is a great idea. However, they think that you should back it up a little bit with more information. So instead of sending you away and asking you to apply again next year, they are very generous, and they are recommending that you get money for 1 year, and not only that, they are actually highlighting what exactly they want you to see before that they can proceed, or they can recommend on the extension of this idea. So 2 ways to scheme for feasibility study. One of them you can request, and the other one can be suggested by the panel.
We have a question about, can one of the collaborators be a profit business or a company?
Okay, let me first adjust our camera here. A company cannot be a member of a BARD proposal. They can be a what's called contractor. It can be a subcontractor, and they can get paid by either one of the universities that are on the program.
We have a question, is the webinar recorded and can it be shared? So yes, it is recorded and it will be on our website next week, early next week. Yeah? We have a question, are revised submissions, do revised submissions go back to the same reviewers or do they get new reviewers?
The revised submissions, we instruct the panels to send it to some of the previous reviewers, particularly those that had significant comments, but we also send it to at least 3 to 5 new reviewers.
We have a question here. Is there a way we can, if someone wants to see the list of funded research that we have done over the past previous years? Yes, that's available online on our website. You can see the ones who won just recent ones, and you can go back and see previous research projects that were funded.
We have a new map where you can go in the website and click on the states and find all the projects funded in the states in the U.S.
I think we covered most of the questions. So if anyone has the last question to ask, okay, well, just a minute. We have a question here. What is the expected rate of the first submitted proposals and likewise revised? So how many proposals do we usually get, and how many do we get revised?
We have, well, let me start backwards. At the acceptance rate of revised proposals and new proposals is about the same. I didn't check it the last 2 years, but before that they were dead even. Continued proposals though actually have a little bit slightly higher acceptance rate. It's 26% for the other ones. I think it was like might have been 28% for the continued proposals. What was the second part of the question?
The question is how many we get a lot of revised proposals. Also, we have a question about are all proposals rated in quadrant 1? Do we have a different rating of proposals? Do we rate the proposals?
The proposals are, as you are mentioned, they're in a review panel. Each review panel ranks those proposals and also gives a recommendation. The recommendations are fund high priority, fund, and do not fund. Then we have what's called the Technical Advisory Committee, which takes the recommendations of the 2 panels, reconciles any differences between the 2 panels, and then come up with a interdisciplinary portfolio, which is pretty much based on the best proposals. Although the rate in each panel over the years is the same, there's no quota per panel how many proposals get funded in a particular year. It depends on the quality of the proposals in those subjects.
So you just have a question, what's covered under crop health? Want to give some examples?
Crop health, we covered any issues which are relevant to plant pathology. It can be starting from phytopathology, it can be entomology, it can be virology. So everything which is being covered by plant pathology, this is a plant health. But this is actually discussed, we can think about nutritional stress, and the nutritional stress which actually giving rise to a weaker plant health, a weaker plant, and these are being discussed in the soil and water and environment panel. So everything that can heal up the plant and push this plant to maximize productivity or to optimize productivity is really covered by different panels.
I have a question about what percent of budget can go to subcontractors or non-for-profit percentage?
In a matter of fact, we don't have a quote. I mean, recently we didn't have so many companies which are asking to be part of the budget. So we don't have a strict regulation there. But if the research institute is obtaining the funding and counting for overheads and so on, there is no much to share with the company. So just make sure that you don't let them down. That the company people let down, and do the right arrangement before you're applying for funding, if that company is necessary for the success of the study.
Okay, we have a question about workshops. What type of workshops proposals do we fund, and can we give examples of workshops?
I think that we have on our website the topics, and technically it's not less elaborated than a regular research proposal, but you have to structure the workshop, and you have to give a list of potential participants and to get agreement of the key speakers. So that's basically there. Now, if I can remember, let's say big data is a topic that nowadays it's very important. Anything that help us to collect big data that later on can be utilized by the engineers, by precision agriculture, by artificial intelligence mechanisms. That's something that is there. So it can be from getting to know each other, those people which deals with big data, and trying to synchronize. I mean, when they will meet, they will find the right way and how to collaborate. Another topics that we have there is water quality, quantity, and renewable resources of water. So anything there is very important. Again, I'm encouraging you to pick into the list that we have on our website, and you'll get a better idea. And the instructions how to prepare your proposal are also there. And if you have any difficulty, please contact us, and we'll do our best to help you.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. And for those who we didn't manage to answer right now, we'll do our best to answer you online.
Thank you very much. And to those of you in the United States, have a good rest of the day. And to those of you who actually are finishing their working day, have a nice evening. And we hope to see all of you on our application list with a proposal for next year. Thank you very much.